Have you ever noticed how some people are perfectly happy being outside the spotlight? They are not hiding, they are not lonely, they are not antisocial, they are just invisible by choice. Maybe they are the person who never posts pictures of themselves, the coworker who does work but avoids recognition, the friend who reads every message in the group, rarely says anything. Maybe it is you. In a world that constantly encourages us to be seen and heard and followed and liked and shared, there are people who quietly choose the opposite. They enjoy being anonymous. That is fascinating because most people assume anonymity is a sign of insecurity. They think if someone avoids attention, they must be shy or afraid or lacking confidence. Psychology tells a much more interesting story. Many people who enjoy anonymity are not running away from the world all. They are protecting something valuable, something that modern life makes increasingly difficult to keep: their sense of self. Think about it. Imagine walking through a city where nobody knows your name. Nobody has expectations of you. Nobody cares what you are wearing or what job you have or how followers you gained this week or whether your latest picture got enough likes. For some people that sounds terrifying. For others it sounds like freedom. The strange thing is that human beings have always had a relationship with visibility. On one hand, we are creatures. Our brains evolved to seek belonging. Being accepted by a tribe once meant survival. Rejection could literally mean death. At the same time, we also evolved with a deep need for autonomy, the feeling that our thoughts and choices and identities belong to us. That is where anonymity becomes psychologically powerful, because being anonymous removes a pressure most people do not even realize they are carrying: the pressure of performing. Whether we admit it or not, we all perform to some degree. You act differently around your boss than your closest friend. You speak differently at a job interview than you do in your car singing to music from 10 years ago. Psychologists call this impression management. It is the tendency to shape how others perceive us. There is nothing with it. It is part of life. For some people, constantly managing impressions becomes exhausting. They begin to feel like actors trapped inside their lives. Every conversation becomes a stage. Every social media post becomes a marketing campaign. Every opinion must be carefully packaged. Anonymity offers a rare escape. When nobody is watching, something remarkable happens. The performance stops. You no longer have to ask, "How do I look?" Instead, you can ask, "Who am I?" That is a different question. Research in psychology suggests that self-awareness often increases when external evaluation decreases. When people stop focusing on how others see them, they gain mental space to explore their genuine preferences and values and thoughts. It is like turning off a radio that has been playing in the background for years. Suddenly, you can hear yourself think. This is one reason why some people love traveling to places where nobody knows them. They often describe the experience as liberating, not because they become someone, because they finally get to be themselves. Many people who enjoy anonymity are highly observant. Think about the difference between being on stage and sitting quietly in the audience. The person on stage is focused on being seen. The person in the audience is focused on seeing. People who prefer anonymity often spend time observing than broadcasting. They notice details others miss: facial expressions, changes in tone, the mood of a room, patterns in behavior. They become students of nature because they are not constantly occupied with managing their own spotlight. In a way, anonymity can function like a superpower, not because it makes someone better than others, because it changes where attention is directed. Instead of saying, "Look at me," their brain says, "Let me look." History is filled with people who understood this: writers who used pen names, artists who remained unknown, philosophers who valued ideas more than recognition. Today, some of the most influential voices online operate behind anonymous identities. What is fascinating is that people often assume fame is the human desire. Research consistently shows that after basic needs are met, meaning matters more than attention. Many individuals would rather create something than become famous for creating it. That is the important distinction. Attention and fulfillment are not the thing. One feeds the ego, the other feeds the soul. Of course, anonymity is not always about freedom. Sometimes it is about safety. Human beings are incredibly sensitive to judgment. In fact, neuroscience studies have shown that social rejection activates some of the brain regions involved in physical pain. Your brain literally treats exclusion like a threat. So it is understandable why some people retreat into anonymity after being criticized or embarrassed or bullied or misunderstood. Maybe they shared something once and got hurt. Maybe they learned that visibility attracts attention. Maybe they discovered that being known can sometimes feel more dangerous than being invisible. If that is the case, anonymity becomes a shield. While shields can protect us, they can also isolate us if we never put them down. This is where psychology asks a question. Are you choosing anonymity? Are you hiding behind it? The difference matters. One comes from freedom. The other comes from fear. A person choosing anonymity feels empowered. A person hiding behind anonymity often feels trapped. From the outside, the behaviors may look identical. Internally, they are completely different experiences. That is why self-awareness is so important. Some people genuinely thrive away from attention. Others secretly crave connection, have convinced themselves they do not. The challenge is figuring out which one sounds like you. Interestingly, modern culture often struggles to understand this distinction. We are living through a time where visibility is treated like a measure of worth. Follower counts, views, subscribers, personal brands. Algorithms constantly whisper the message, be seen. Yet many people feel increasingly exhausted. Why? Because attention comes with a cost. Every audience creates expectations. The bigger the audience becomes, the harder it can be to separate who you are from who people think you are. Some celebrities have spoken openly about this experience. Millions know their name. They feel invisible as individuals. People recognize the image but not the person. Ironically, extreme visibility can sometimes create the same loneliness people associate with anonymity. That is because humans do not simply need attention. They need authenticity. Authenticity is difficult when every action feels observed. Imagine trying to dance while thousands of people critique every movement. You would probably stop dancing. You would start calculating, overthinking, adjusting. That is what constant visibility can do to the mind. Anonymity removes the audience. Without the audience, many people rediscover spontaneity, curiosity, playfulness, the freedom to experiment, the freedom to fail, the freedom to change. All identity is not a finished product. It is a work in progress. Sometimes growth requires privacy. A seed does not become a tree because people stand around watching it. It grows first, quietly, unseen. Human beings often work the way. Some of our important transformations happen away from public view. The new skill you are learning, the heartbreak you are healing from, the beliefs you are questioning, the person you are becoming. Not everything needs an audience. In fact, some things flourish precisely because they do not have one. Perhaps that is the deepest reason some people enjoy being anonymous. They understand something that modern culture often forgets. You do not have to be visible to be valuable. You do not have to be famous to matter. You do not have to announce every thought or achievement or transformation for it to be real. Your life still counts even when nobody's watching. Actually, sometimes that is when it becomes most authentic. So if you have ever felt comfortable staying in the background, observing rather than performing, protecting your privacy in a world obsessed with exposure, it does not automatically mean there is something wrong with you. It may simply mean your mind values freedom over attention, depth over display, authenticity over performance. That is not a weakness. It might be one of your strengths. The time you find yourself enjoying a quiet moment where nobody knows who you are, do not rush to fill that silence. Pay attention to it. Listen carefully, because underneath all the noise and expectations and performances of life, you might discover something surprisingly rare: yourself. If this topic resonated with you, I would love to know your thoughts. Do you enjoy being anonymous, or do you prefer being seen and recognized? Share your perspective in the comments. If you are curious about the hidden psychology behind everyday human behavior, make sure to subscribe and join us for the next exploration into the fascinating world of the mind.